but unfortunately, and I am going to bring this up, the NDP who were scheduled to show up suddenly declined to show up all at once. So all of a sudden, they didn't come here. So make your conclusions of that as you will, but they all confirmed, and then all of a sudden, en masse, they said they're not coming. So I'm filling in. It's important to note that, actually. Bill C-38 has been discussed before, and there's just so many things. I mean, we've had so many people talk about this, and I'm so glad that they're talking about it. I can't get into it enough, though. There's too many things into it. I've got a few things. One of the best discussions of the bill is on the Green Party website. And one of the reasons is because it was Elizabeth May that spearheaded. You can't really talk about the fight against the bill without talking about Elizabeth, because she was the person who was able to actually spearhead the entire fight against it. The Liberals joined in, and then the NDP joined in when she chose to fight it. She was up for about 22 hours straight in the House of Commons trying to put through at least one of the over 300 different amendments to try and make the bill slightly less nasty, and none of them made it through. There was a complete hold on all of the Conservatives. All they needed was 13 Conservatives to vote against one of the amendments, and none of it happened. So there is something to be said for the fight in Parliament, and we are the people that can spearhead that. I'm very, very proud of the work that we did on that one, but I wanted to go over some of it because I don't think people realize why we called it the Environmental Devastation Act. It's about 30% of the bill had absolutely nothing to do with budget at all. Most of it had to do with repealing things, with moving things around. Of the laws that were changed in the bill, the Species at Risk Act, the Environmental Protection Act, the Nuclear Safety and Control Act, the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act were all changed in it. The agencies that were actually eliminated by the Act were things like the Inspector General for Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, the National Roundtable on the Environment and the Economy, First Nations Statistical Institute, the Wage Earner Protection Act, Parks Canada Act, the Seeds Act, the Food and Drug Act. There's so many things in it that were covered by this act. I can't even go into it all. There is hope for it, though. Elizabeth, in particular, is calling for people who have Conservatives representing them in their ridings to step forward and say, you have to make changes to this. You have to do something about it. You have to stand forward for your constituents. Now, I know that might not seem like a lot, but all we needed was a few Conservatives, and Conservatives are already dropping in the ranks of the Harper government. Most of the Conservatives in the Harper government were there for reform, or they were there as red Tories. There were really a very small few of neocon radicals who have taken control of the government. And it's those ones that are spearheading the agenda. The rest of them are going along with it because they fear for their jobs, but you can already hear the knives being sharpened in the background. I think one of our best hopes to get rid of Harper is not necessarily the people speaking up, but having his own people take him down, because some of those people are already starting to drool at the concept of them leading the party or them getting more power. And I think by focusing on them, we can do a lot more damage to Harper's consolidation of power than in other ways. There was a few people talking about the political process here, and I wasn't really going to get into that as much. But I think it's really important, and I've discussed this before. I am absolutely in love with the social movement. I think this is one of the best gatherings ever. I am so empowered by this. I just love it. I love coming out here. I'm so thrilled that so many people are excited to be here. And yet when I discuss politics, and even though this is a political movement and a social movement, people start really shying away from the concept of voting and getting out and actively doing political things. They often say, well, you're the Greens, so you're going to say that. The Greens are an international movement. We are a social, political, environmental movement across the entire world. We have Greens taking over governments all over the planet. We're talking about peace here. I've met with Greens from Belgium, from France, from New Zealand, from Australia, and they're in the government, and they are directing policies. Elizabeth herself did an amazing job with this bill, but if there had been just a couple of more of us, we would have made such a huge difference. I don't just want people to get involved in campaigns. We have at least 2 occupiers who stood as campaign managers and candidates in the last election. It's really, really important that we start making a difference on the political front. one of the reasons that I like doing this work is because not only I get to stand in front of the microphone, but they can't ignore me when I'm out in a campaign. The papers can't ignore me. The other candidates can't ignore me. We bring things to the agenda that they don't want us to bring to the agenda. We're all just citizens. We don't get paid, we don't have a directive, we are all signed on to the Global Greens Charter, and we're all in this together, and we're all part of the same movement, but we have a bit more political clout than some of the rest of us. So I want all of us to start stepping forward. I want all of us to start saying, how am I going to make a difference in the political realm? I still want to see everybody out here, I still want to see all the social stuff, but I don't want to hear anybody saying anymore, oh, I don't vote, or I spoil my ballot, or what are we going to do about the political process? We have to change the political process from the ground up. And one of the ways we can do that is getting involved in the political process. So I've got cards for everybody. I want to see you start looking, what can I do to make that policy change? If you think nobody speaks for you, get up and speak for yourself. Become a candidate, and we will back you 100%. That's exactly what Dara's done, and that's what I've done. And that is one thing we all can do. How can I start supporting the political process in a way that I want to see it go? And that's just one part, but I know that we all want to support Elizabeth, we all want to support each other, and we all want to start making the changes in that. You don't like the Liberals, you don't like the NDP, you don't like the Conservatives, step up and say, this is what I do like. And people are going to start to listen to you. That's all I got.